Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a huge night of weekly candle closes. We have Ethereum on course for its highest weekly close since 2021. We have massive moves across the market, and tonight we're going to discuss a lot of them. We're going to look at what we think might be coming in the next couple of weeks. We're going to look at why Bitcoin's cooled off and when we think it's going to hit new all-time high again, which I think is pretty soon. And we're going to look at some big altcoin moves that we saw over the last few days. Of course, we'll look at the entire market, but that is going to be our focus. I think there's no better place to start than Ethereum. Ethereum putting in a monster candle of up over 21%, flipping MasterCard in market cap this week. An absolutely huge move. We've saw massive amounts of shorts piling up on Ethereum for months. We've been talking about when Ethereum finally rallies, it was going to absolute melt faces. It's finally happened. We're back above $4,000, back above $4,200 as we speak right now. And we're going to look at those key levels and look at what we think could happen shortly. And yeah, let's dive in. So let's start with Ethereum. So as you can see this week, we got that break above the $4,000 level. We've tried to crack it 3 times in this kind of cycle. So March 2024, we got rejected off it, led to quite a big decline. Again, we hit it in June, back down to $2,300. And then of course in December, when we had the Trump pump, we got rejected back at this key level and came back down all the way down to $1,300, $1,400. What a massive buy level that would have been if anyone caught that bottom. Huge move since then. This April the 7th, if you remember, was the tariff drama. We saw a lot of headlines around recession, market crash, blah blah, inflation, all the macro news to scare people out of positions. That was the Pico bottom, and since then Ethereum is up. Not only is it up over 200%, it's also up over $250 billion in market cap. So a huge move for Ethereum. I do think Ethereum will continue to show strength. I think it wouldn't surprise me if we got a check back in the next few days. I think this area around kind of $4,100 is probably the level that we get a check back to, this green bar. It makes sense. We've had a huge rally. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 green. It's 6 green weeks out of 7. That's massive in any market, and you have to expect pullbacks eventually. So I do think we'll get some form of pullback to the $4,100 level, but I still think Ethereum will finish next week green. I think the market's looking super hot. This week we have CPI inflation as well. If that comes in cool, then rate cuts are a certainty at that point, and the market is going to start pricing that in immediately. If we flip over to Bitcoin, we can see Bitcoin's kind of been cooling off for a wee while. We've showed this chart in CC Pro, this ascending parallel channel. So quite a lot going on in this frame here, but this ascending parallel channel, we bounced off it at the exact point of the check back to the May all-time high at $112,000. Perfect bounce. Since then, we've shown some real strength. Bitcoin back above $118,000. I think 120k is the level to break, and once we break there, I think Bitcoin's going to go into all-time high, and I do think we'll see Bitcoin kind of surge at that point. Now, traditional market in crypto is Bitcoin rallies, then Ethereum rallies, then the altcoins rally, and I do think that'll continue to be the case. I think this time around what is different is we've got Bitcoin treasury companies, and Bitcoin treasury companies do well when there's hype around crypto. So people will buy the ETF because they read about Bitcoin and crypto on the news. Traditional investors can't just go into the market and allocate billions of dollars to altcoins, so they can do it through ETFs. And I think that's why Bitcoin, every time crypto does well, even if it's Ethereum, if it's XRP, Bitcoin will naturally catch some buyer momentum from that, because people will just go to their broker, ask for Bitcoin exposure, and they'll get it through IBIT, through the Bitcoin ETFs, and through various other methods that aren't available to crypto more broadly yet. So I think this cycle we will see that back and forth relationship between crypto, the altcoins, and Bitcoin. Bitcoin will rally, money will flow into crypto, people will take profits, it'll flow back into Bitcoin, people will hear headlines on the news, they'll go and buy ETFs, which will pump Bitcoin, and it will just be a bit more of a cat and mouse game, as opposed to just Bitcoin flies, Ethereum flies, then the altcoins fly. But all in all, it's all good for altcoins, it's all bearish for dominance, as we've saw, and I think Ethereum treasury companies will do very well this week. Ethereum will do well, and then I think it goes into the broader market. So I do think that breadth will open up. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a Bitcoin dominated week, just because it has had this kind of cooling off period. We've bounced. Ethereum's had a lot of movement over the last week. XRP broke its all-time high. So I do think Bitcoin will come back into the spotlight this week, and we've already saw Michael Saylor tweeting today saying, if you don't stop buying Bitcoin, you won't stop making money. Normally when he tweets, that is a signal that he's either agreed a buy, about to buy, or he knows there's a big buy coming. So I could be wrong, but I do think Bitcoin could be looking for a new all-time high this week. I think that means the entire market will rise, but Bitcoin dominance might have a bit of a relief rally, which makes a lot of sense. And if we look at Bitcoin dominance, you can see we had a bit of a bounce over the last 24 hours, just coming up to that underside level. I do think we'll probably get rejected there, maybe even get as high as 61% before continuing downward. And that's just the way this market's going to move, in my opinion. If we look at total market cap, trying to get back up to that $3.93 trillion level and make a new all-time high. We did briefly make a new all-time high earlier today, just before it sold off. I think if we could close tonight above 3.92 trillion, that would be very bullish. But anyway, we're on course for a new all-time high weekly candle close on the total market cap. And I think everything's just shaping up really nicely for Bitcoin in the macro world, and of course in the crypto world as well. Let's have a look at Total 2, the altcoin market. So again, there's so much going on these charts. It's actually insane how much is lining up. Let me try and talk you through this one, because for anyone that's new to the stream, if you're not in CC Pro, you're not seeing these charts day in, day out, so it can get quite messy. So on the screen it probably does look really messy right now, but let's just take everything off the screen and I'll talk you through these blue lines. For anyone that's new to TradingView, these are my alerts. So when the market goes above these, I get a text to tell me that the market's hit those levels, or it alerts me on TradingView. You can set these up super easy. We teach people how to do this in CC Pro every day. If you're not in it, you need to look into join. I'll drop the link in the chat. But this is, so Total 2 is the altcoin market. We've spoke about this a million times on the channel, but to me this looks like it's not the most clean inverse head and shoulders, but bear with me. If this is a head and shoulders pattern, then the neckline sits at this $1.56 trillion level where we sit just now. Now, if I draw to get the target of where this breakout would lead, it's the depth of the head. So if we set that, and we'll just set it to there. This is pretty rough because I'm doing it live. But you can see that the target is this blue line at 2.29, $2.3 trillion. So that's fine. Inverse head and shoulders, it might play out. If it breaks above, check back. As long as we hold above this neckline once we've broke it, then you would think the next target will be 2.3 trillion. It'll take a while to play out, but that is where we're logically heading next. Okay, so if we agree that, just assume that's factual. Let's now draw the fibs on. So we have the July high to the August low. We draw that on. Let me draw it there. And the 4.236, which is the highest fib extension that we think the market can get to just for this move, so that's not the broader long-term move, lines up with $2.3 trillion. So it seems to me that that's where the altcoin market's heading. That number seems to make a lot of sense. That's added confluence. And yeah, I think we'll get an all-time high in the total 2, which is altcoin market, in the coming days. And long-term, and by long-term I mean like maybe 2 or 3 weeks, 2.3 trillion looks like the destination for this market. So a lot going on, a lot of information, but a lot of things lining up together. And this isn't even the best chart I've got for this stream tonight, so stick around. We have loads more exciting moves to talk about. Let's have a look at XRP. So XRP, let's take this off for now. Let's take off the weekly. So on the daily time frame, you can see XRP broke out of this kind of downtrend on the daily. If you look at where we came up to, we came back up to this previous all-time high at 340. Slight rejection, but we've not really dropped too far. We basically came back to this level here around 315. I think Ethereum's just absolutely stole the show this week. I don't think it's anything bearish. I got a text saying, do you think XRP's topped? Absolutely not. This is just corrections as they go. And you can see basically just wicking off previous levels, just building support. I think once Ethereum cools off and goes into a bit of a range, I think we'll see XRP and probably Solana. I think Solana's the next one that I'm watching to run, because it's kind of been in the shadows for the last few weeks. So yeah, I think XRP and Solana are just waiting on that breadth to open up, that liquidity to flow in. And with the case finally closing for XRP last week, I think we'll start to see some big announcements from Ripple, and that's going to be very bullish for price action, especially from the institution side. I think things like XRP, Solana, things like that, they need that institutional money. I think right now this is an institutional buyer's market. Retail's not moving this market. It's Wall Street, it's institutions, and it's just easy for them to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum through ETFs. They're now allowed to hold Bitcoin and Ethereum on their balance sheet. Ethereum treasury companies are coming out of nowhere. I think we just need those ETFs in order to really catapult things like XRP, Solana, XRP to like $7, Solana to like $500, and then you can go through the market. But there's going to be big ETF approvals, and it's definitely going to happen this year. So XRP just having a bit of cool off over the last couple of days. We have Cardano moving quite nicely, still not broken out of this bigger downtrend. So yeah, 93 cents, and then target of 117 before the top target 132, which was the December high. You've got BNB back above the previous all-time high, which is really bullish. BNB typically has quite a strong signal in the market, obviously because it's completely manipulated by Binance, but I would imagine BNB will break out and start making new all-time highs very soon. And then you've got Solana, like I say, kind of lagging the market, not really caught up with the Ethereum, XRP, Bitcoin moves, but I think it's just patience. It's just there's only so much liquidity in the market. We've spoke about this for 2 years now. This whole market is controlled by liquidity flows, and right now liquidity is still pretty limited and it's concentrated. Bitcoin dominance is still around 60%. That's huge. Just like the stock market is controlled by the Mag 7 right now, crypto market is still kind of controlled by Bitcoin. So until we see that dominance dropping, kind of getting lower, maybe 55% and below, we probably won't see the massive alt season that we're all waiting for. But nonetheless, still some huge moves. Chainlink was a notable move this week, up over 34% this week. So back to this high here, the March 2024 high. Target is the December high, and I would imagine there's some news story that we'll hear this week to justify this price move. Is it an ETF? Is it a big application? Somebody talking about it favorably somewhere? That's kind of how the narratives work after price has flew. Let's see who's in the chat. So Don's in, Lewis, Ewan, Jack. Nice to have everybody in. If you've got any questions, drop them. We've got loads of charts to go through. We've got a few news stories to go through. We'll talk a bit about macro. But if you're in CC Pro, you know I just done a macro podcast, so you can check that out. If you're not in CC Pro, you need to have a word with yourself. And we also have some more live streams coming this week. We also have the first monthly Vantage report coming on Tuesday as well. So that'll be interesting for everyone that holds Vantage tokens. Let's have a quick look at Bitcoin dominance. So I briefly covered it at the start, but if we can see, I think it's important to zoom out and see how high we still are. If we go back to 2021, this is where the real exciting period started. This green bar here, you can see a lot of wicks into the green bar, but it was really once we broke that the altcoin market started to fly. So if we go to the 29th of March 2021 on the altcoin chart, I'll show you what I mean. So this is here. You can see this is where the altcoin market started to fly. 125%, 840 billion pumped into the market once we broke that 60% dominance level. So that's why this green bar is here. It is a key level and we are right above it right now. So a breakdown below that is when things got really exciting in 2021, and I think it's going to be no different this time. Probably targeting somewhere down here around 55% for the next breakdown, and we'll see altcoins go absolutely crazy during that period. As you can see, Solana dominance still relatively low, 2.5%. Back in December when we went up to those highs, we got as high as almost 4%. So that's why Solana's lagging. XRP dominance has taken a bit of a hit this week as Ethereum took over, and you can see Ethereum dominance 13%. But the exciting thing is, Ethereum dominance is probably going to get back into this range up here around 20% at some point. So still loads of room for Ethereum to grow. Let's have a look at some questions. Ryan saying Borg, ready to go. Yeah, Borg's had quite a nice few days. Some other coins that have moved really nice. But yeah, after this kind of descending wedge, maybe, you can see it broke out of that, just working our way back up to the local top, which is at 30 cents. Break above that, and then I think we get up to this top of the range around 40, and from there there's not a lot above us, which is very bullish. That move off centralized exchange earlier this year should make the chart move quite fast once we get above certain key levels as well. Thoughts on DeSci as a whole, Cameron? Well, I've spoke about it before on stream. I think crypto and AI goes hand in hand. I think DeSci and AI and crypto is a massively logical step. If you've been tuning in recently, you'll know I pay a lot of attention to AI. I think AI and crypto just makes perfect sense. I think any startups in the next few years are going to use crypto rather than the traditional stock market way of establishing a company, issuing shares, seed rounds, all that. I think they're just going to issue a token. I think DeSci is going to be huge. I think AI and science and health is a massive narrative that most people are ignoring. But it's just because I think a lot of people still are treating AI a bit like it's just like a fad, like it's a novelty. It's something you ask ChatGPT a question on, I don't know, a film or a TV show, or like there's a lot of people that aren't actually using it for what it can be used for. Whereas you can use AI to build a business, you can use it to write research papers, you can do loads of things with it. And I think that the amount of work AI can do for people is why DeSci is going to be a big benefit of it. And I think any crypto token tied to that could do well. The problem right now, just with any narrative in crypto, is there's like a million DeSci tokens, like there's a million gaming tokens and everything else. I think the cream will rise to the top at the end of this bull run, and I think the real companies with real revenue, real customers, real users will shine through, and I think DeSci will do really well, but it'll only be the few companies that actually survive that do well. But yeah, it's all tied to AI, it's all tied to the same narrative. Dex answered Dez's question, so let's have a look at the news, and then we'll do the most bullish chart I've found in a long time. So rate probabilities, September 89% at the moment. The new Fed chair, Steve Hinman, I think it was, or Mirren, I think it is, got hired the other day. He is basically the guy that designed Trump's entire economic plan. So he's now going to be a Fed chair. He's pro rate cuts, as you can imagine, as anyone should be. 89% chance we get a rate cut in September. We've already got two dissenters. Then Stephen Mirren's been hired. That's the third one. So chances are we'll get a rate cut in September. October looking like we get another rate cut, and December potentially a third. I would imagine we'll get down to this target range of 3.5% by the end of the year. Whether that's 3 different rate cuts or it's one and then a 50-point rate cut, whatever happens, I think that's where we'll be. Long-term rate cuts are coming down, liquidity is going to pour in, and yeah, it's not a question of if, it's just when. Let's have a look through some news stories I picked out. So $100 million of ETH OTC buys via Galaxy Digital today. So institutions are buying Ethereum before the stock market opens tomorrow. I would imagine that's a smart move. Kobayashi letter highlighting some of the big data points this week. So it's going to be a volatile macro week. We've got July CPI and PPI inflation data. You've also got 5 Fed speakers. I would imagine they'll all be pretty dovish. I also think inflation could go either way. It doesn't really matter at this point. I've spoken about inflation to death. It doesn't really matter where inflation is today, because the Fed are forecasting inflation for next year being higher, but they're not factoring in all the efficiency AI is going to bring over the next 12 months. I think everybody underestimates the power of AI. I think everybody underestimates the power of AI in business efficiency. So inflation is largely irrelevant at this point. You take out shelter and inflation's down at 1.5% or something like that anyway. So it'll be a volatile week. They'll use all these news narratives to probably move price one way or the other, but long term, it doesn't really matter. Michael Saylor buying Bitcoin tomorrow, and the big news, Harvard buys $160 million worth of Bitcoin this week or last week, after saying in 2018 that it was probably going to $100 rather than 100k. So interesting to see a massive institution like Harvard buying Bitcoin. Again, it's a bit like when Google does something or Apple does something. Harvard are the leaders. People look to them for guidance. If they're doing something, then other people can follow. So I would expect to see a lot of headlines like this. There's a lot of buying pressure. There's a lot of institutional interest in Bitcoin, in crypto, and we'll see a lot more of this in the coming weeks. Alvara. So Alvara got listed on Swissborg this week, which is nice. It is on the Avalanche chain, so you can't send direct from Ethereum chain, so just be careful. But a nice move, up 55% in a week. Still trending upwards. Mainnet launches next week, I think, so I expect price to continue to rally into mainnet launch and then beyond. I think mainnet's the real buy pressure for the token, so yeah, it'll be good to see some movement in Alvara, but up nicely, and yeah, 26 cents is quite a nice move. Hopefully everyone's still holding from seed round, or at least got their price down when it was in the trenches. But yeah, nice move on Alvara. All right, let's have a look at, so this might be quite hard on stream, but a lot of people have spoke about the volatility coming out of the Bitcoin price. So we saw, we used to have these massive swings up, massive swings down, especially in 2021. Realistically, we've kind of, from the bottom, we've had this up a bit and then cool off, up a bit, then cool off, up a bit, then cool off. And everybody's saying that the volatility's been smoothed out of Bitcoin price action. But when you actually look at what Bitcoin's doing, it's very similar to the 2017 bull run. So I'll try and show this on stream, but it might not come out the best, but let's bear with me. So if we go back to the 2017 bull run, as you can see, price was so low. I need to scroll out, but you can see we kind of done the same thing. So if you look at what happened in 2017, we had big pump, cool off, sideways period, big pump, cool off, and this kind of was the pattern. Now, if you look at what's happened here, this is very similar, in my opinion, to what we're experiencing right now in Bitcoin. So if we look, let me get it back on screen. So in my opinion, what happened in 2017 was we had the same thing. We had these long drawn out periods, then we had a massive move. Drawn out period, massive move. But then what happened? Eventually we got through the final move and price went absolutely parabolic. And I don't know how many people on stream were around, but from November 2017 to the top in December, we actually moved 150% in 23 days. So you'll see all these headlines that Bitcoin's going to go up forever, it's going to 400k, 500k, $1 million. But nobody talks about how quick Bitcoin can actually move once it gets through these long drawn out periods. Everybody's going to tell you institutions are in now, so that can't happen. 23 days, Bitcoin moved 150%, and then that was it. It was over. I'm not saying Bitcoin and the crypto market's only got 3 weeks left. What I'm saying is you just need to be prepared to take profit when you can, because bull markets are over very quickly. And I think it's a really important lesson to pay attention to. But what's even more interesting, let me try and do this, is if we compare the 2017 bull run to what we're going through right now, there is some eerily similar patterns. So what I've just done is I've just copied the chart pattern from 2017. Let's try and shape it out, because obviously the price was a lot more compressed. If you look at what is actually playing out right now, it's pretty similar. So this is the 2017 bull run in the purple, overlaid with what's going on right now. I would imagine, and I hope that appears okay on the screen, because obviously it looks fine on my screen, but it looks pretty damn similar to me. I'm not sure what anybody thinks, but I'm not saying the Bitcoin bull run's going to be over in 3 weeks, but what happened in 2017 was we had sideways chop, big move up, sideways chop, dump, big move up, sideways chop, dump, big move up. But once we got through all that volatility, or all that sideways non-volatility, if you want to call it that, we then got the volatility spike, and we absolutely pumped, and we went ballistic. So if this continues to play out, then I don't think it'll go as high as 330k. I've already said my target's about 220 to 230k top end target. But this just shows how it could happen. Be interested to see over the next few weeks if something like this plays out. But I just thought that was crazy similar, how similar the chart pattern is to 2017. Everybody looks back to 2021 and complains because we don't have these massive rallies like we did in 2021. But everybody forgets the 2017 bull run. And actually 2021 was one of the most manipulated moves because it was fully Grayscale, Luna, FTX, all manipulating the price. Whereas right now, I think it is more like 2017. So, like I say, I'm not saying it's going to be over in 3 weeks, but what I am saying is get ready to take profit, have a plan, get as much profit out of the market when you hit your targets. Don't believe influencers that are telling you it's going to go on for years, we're in a super cycle, Bitcoin's never going below 100k, all these mad stories you're going to hear. And we will continue to revisit this macro fractal because it looks pretty interesting to me. Just 3 hours until the weekly candle close for Ethereum. This will be a huge level. If we close up here, even if we close above $4,100, I think that's going to be massive for the markets next week. And I don't even know if the macro volatility will impact it too much. I think we like I said at the start, we probably do get a move back to 4,100 at some point. But right now, I think everything's shaping up for a huge few weeks. Let's jump out the chat. Let's see. I know there's some questions. Can you cover DYDX? So Des said, when Bitcoin dominance drops, will we get a flash crash? There is some mad crash. There is corrections. If we look at 2021, you can see. I think they're still highlighted on this chart. Actually, yeah, you can see. January, like I think all of these are 30% or more, 32%, 27%, 20%, and then obviously this in here was 50% down to the summer low. So yeah, you will get crashes in price, but it's not Bitcoin dominance. In fact, Bitcoin dominance normally rises when there's a market crash, and the reason for that is because Bitcoin, it's just a flight to quality. Like, people sell their terrible low market cap altcoins that they have no conviction in before they sell Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the last thing you would sell in your crypto portfolio. So normally Bitcoin dominance rises during a market-wide crash, not drops. Stuart asks, can you see ETH dropping again now there's ETFs back below 3k after the bull run? Yeah, I still think, like, I think right now we're seeing institutional interest in Ethereum from Wall Street, and I think one of the reasons is because they can see a lot of value coming into Ethereum through stable coins, so they're putting a monetary price on it, and that's why we're seeing this huge move in Ethereum. I think institutions are going to keep buying Ethereum. I think it goes to $10,000 this cycle. But the market will crash. 3k, yeah, I don't see why not. I think we'll see Ethereum altcoins. I think some altcoins will never come back from the next bear market. I've said that a lot of times. I think Ethereum back at 3k, yeah, definitely. I wouldn't bank on anything not dropping more than, like, even Bitcoin can drop. Like, I still think Bitcoin can drop 60-65% in the next bear market. It might not, but I've said before, like, my downside target for Bitcoin in the bear market, whether we get there or not, it doesn't really matter because I'll be buying Bitcoin way below that, before that. But my target's 48k. It's this wick here. I think this is where we, or 49k. I think this is where we come back to in the bear market. Now that could be utter nonsense and we might never get there, but that's, I'll be buying once we're in a bear market. I'll be buying once we start to correct. I'll DCA into Bitcoin, but this is where I would literally be selling the house and buying Bitcoin. And I think that would be a decent target for a bottom. I think there's other key levels like the 74k level. That would be a big buy level. But yeah, I wouldn't bet against any low targets. Thoughts on Richard Hart's ecosystem after beating the SEC? Richard, to be honest, I think the guy is a scammer. He might have, did he beat the SEC or did the SEC just shift to pro crypto and probably have to kind of just move on? I don't know the ins and outs, to be honest. I think Richard Hart, maybe the fact that I'm saying that is a buy signal, but for me, he has wrecked a lot of people. So yeah, I don't really have strong thoughts. Lewis says that would coincide with a decent pullback in September as well. Yeah, exactly. And I've said for a while, I think somebody in CC Pro asked this today actually, do I think the top will be in September? I don't know if it'll be the top. I think it'll be a local top. So I think mid-September, anything from like the 10th through to the 20th, that's kind of the window where I think we'll have topped. Like for September, I think Bitcoin might get 150k, maybe not even that high, maybe 135k. That'll be a local top, and I think we'll correct quite hard. Well, I suppose if let's go back to that actually. Pardon me for taking this. What would this move be? So where does this get us to? So that gets us to 150k. So let's say this is accurate, and we dropped back to here. That would be a 25% pullback. It does seem like it could play out. The only thing I would say is I don't believe the top target of this fractal, so I guess I can't really put too much faith in anything else. 112k would probably be where we'd pull back to. That would be a 25% pullback. If we did that, you'd get a lot of people saying it's over, bull market's done, pack up your bags, bear market's here, 25% pullback after 150k, logical, psychological levels, blah blah blah. And as soon as everybody starts kind of selling at a loss, accepting that the bull market's done, that's when it probably rips higher. And we saw that in 2021. The summer was the most bearish time. Like, people were just so fed up. There was all this bullish news, and price corrected 50%, and everybody was fuming. And it was anger, disbelief, and then the market ripped to the upside. And people had to chase it, buying in higher, and then it stopped out at a random level. So we could see that again. I do think everything Trump's saying, he wants to run the economy hot into 2026 midterms. He's also saying 6 months from now the economy's going to be the best economy we've ever seen. Stuff's going to be at all-time high. You've got his son tweeting about Ethereum going to 10k and stuff like that. So yeah, logically it would make sense that September's a local top, and then maybe like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 to 8 weeks, we get sideways consolidation, drop, big 20% drops, stuff like that, and everybody just is fed up and sick of it, probably didn't take enough profit, and then we rip higher. And yeah, that would probably be where I'm shifting my preference to. However, the one thing I would say is, between now and then, you will have lots of opportunity to get profit out, because you'll see massive market-wide pumps. Like, look at Ethereum, for example. XRP was up at 360, so people should already have some profit in the bank. Maybe not a lot, maybe they've not taken any, that's fine. But over the next kind of 4 or 5 weeks, if the market continues like it has and it does open up and dominance does drop, then you need to secure some profits. Thoughts on BNB? Yeah, BNB $1,000 probably target of the next move up. I think 975 logically makes more sense. I don't know if it's a fib. Yeah, 980. So yeah, that 980 level is probably a topside target for now. I think it'll go higher. If Bitcoin goes to 150k, then BNB will go beyond $1,000, I would imagine. Too late to buy Alvara. I wouldn't say it was too late. I mean, it's not the best time, but I still think it's cheap. I think you could do a 10x from here. I was having this conversation with somebody today. I think Alvara has a buy and burn mechanism in the token. For that, that's really bullish. I also think it's had quite a tough 18 months since it launched, or 12 months, whatever it launched. A lot of people have sold. A lot of people that actually believe in the token sold, and that's quite a bullish thing, because it means when it does start rallying, the people that actually wanted the token, wanted it to do well, will buy back in. Especially when mainnet launches. If it launches and it's a massive success, then yeah, it'll do a 10x. So it's not a terrible time to buy in. It's not the best time either. But I would imagine 2 or 3 weeks from now, it's a lot higher than it is today. CRV is doing pretty well, to be fair. What's it, up at $1.99? Yeah, 97. CRV is looking great. From a TA point of view, CRV is like unreal. This downtrend from 2022 hit the target, the first target of 132, rejected. It's bounced off this level, which was the high from March 2024. Held it, amazing as support. I think 132 is the near side target, and then after that, it has huge upside. I think we first posted this swing trade at 66 cents, but we, and in CC Pro, we kept posting updates, but we were averaging down. So yeah, CRV I think has got loads of upside potential. Hopefully everyone that took part in the swing trade averaged down, because you had plenty of time to be fair. I was down in the trenches for a while. You can see it rejected off the 786 as well. Let me go back to XRP, because I don't know if I showed this. Is it XRP? Because I'm on the 3-day chart. But if we look at this recent move, we are right up against the, let me try and zoom in. You can see on this, we're right up, we rejected off the 702 at 338. 3 red candles inside a green. It's normally called 3 white soldiers, I think, if I remember correctly. But if we hold above the 50% retracement level, even if we got as low as 308, we're still pretty bullish and still retaining market structure, putting in a higher high than this high from July 27th. So yeah, I think it's just a waiting game. I think the next move for XRP will be another move like this, where it's literally just spark, ignites, and boom, off we go. And you see that all the time with XRP. It doesn't really move slowly at all. See, broke out this channel, boom. Broke out from this, boom. It doesn't really move slow. But if we go back to, I'm not sure if it's on this chart actually. Let me see if I've got the proper one. Yeah, so if you look at what XRP did in 2017, kind of done a similar thing. So we had, it's really hard to show because the price is so crazy. But 2017, March 2017, we were down at 0.008 then had this massive rally up to 0.06 or 6 cents. Then we had long sideways consolidation, then boom, absolute explosive move, and that took us up to this 40 cent level. Then another sideways consolidation period before we rallied very hard into the all-time high. But even on the way up, we still had 1, 2, maybe call it 2 bull flags on the way up. So you can see that's just the way XRP moves. Has a big explosive move, sideways consolidation, big explosive move, sideways consolidation. So I think the next move will take us up probably 550, something like that. Let's see what the fibs say. 457, the 1.618, and then 640, and then 825. That's just off this move. If we move this across, $4.236 up at 675. So some nice high targets for XRP, especially when if you were buying at 20 cents, you're golden anyway because you're in so much profit right now. Can I comment on Borg? Of course. Borg is looking bullish. I think Borg is doing very well. Back above the 200-day moving average. Bit of a check back. Yeah, it's moving pretty well. You're not seeing it move in those kind of these massive wicks. We spoke about it before, but typically when you see this is market makers on centralized exchanges. In fact, somebody's asked about Opulus, but Opulus has loads of these. So yeah, this basically, if you were to go on Qcoin right now and buy, I don't know, say try and buy 25 grand worth of Opulus, you wouldn't be able to do it because there's not enough liquidity. So what would happen is you could eventually do it, the price would rally, and then what would happen is a couple of hours later the price would be back down where you bought. That's market makers. They sell, they manage the price, they move money. So the fact that Borg is now not on centralized exchanges and it doesn't use market makers is very bullish. We'll just see a healthy price chart long term. Jivo's bullish on Opulus, yeah, hugely bullish on Opulus, bullish on Inspect as well. We've been talking about Inspect since December 2023. I'm pretty sure, in fact, I'm sure it was at the seed, yeah, December 2023 was when we started speaking about Inspect. It was on Bybit. I think it done a early launch on Bybit. Bullish on it. It's now up 25% today. I think it was up in the last couple of days. What's it up, like 50% or something like that? Maybe more, 75%. Opulus running nicely back above the 200-day moving average. Still need to clear this orange line. Definitely need to clear 5 cents. And then we've got a bit of headroom where we can move up and get to double digits hopefully in the coming weeks. That would be nice. Kieran says, any thoughts on Flame going ST on Qcoin? So basically it just means that they're going to delist it. To be honest, kind of what I've just touched on, it's not necessarily, it's to do with liquidity. So it's to do with two things. So I suppose you need to kind of understand how centralized exchanges work, but when a token agrees to go on a centralized exchange, they give them tokens, but they have to use their market maker and they have to hit certain volume targets all the time. And if they don't hit those targets, they get delisted. So it's not necessarily always just to do with token price. Obviously, it's absolutely decimated right now. But I think it's a launchpad. Launchpad tokens are struggling right now. Launchpads are struggling right now. People can't raise money because there's not that interest in early round projects right now. That'll change once the market gets frothy again. Newcomers start coming in. So I think with all these tokens as well, there's a lot of people that are quick to write tokens off. So Inspect was dead, now it's up 75%. Opulus was dead, now it's up 25%. The only time to judge whether a token's dead or not is at the end of the bull run. So once we get to the end of the bull run, that's when you can call a token dead, or it was dead. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but right now you have no way of, something could happen tomorrow, which means that Casta flies. Carlman could come out tomorrow and get all his pals to tweet about Casta. Casta could go 50% tomorrow. You just don't know what's going around the corner in a bull run, so I would just be patient with tokens and just wait. Or if you really don't have conviction, sell them and go buy something else, or take the money. Lots of noise about Velo. Yeah, I mean, we cover it quite a lot on the channel. Still on an uptrend, higher lows, back above the 3-day 200 moving average, back above the daily 200 moving average. So yeah, it's not really done too much since the last time we spoke about it. It looks pretty healthy. Probably still targeting this January high. Take that out and then see where we can get to with it. But it won't go back to all-time highs. I'm pretty confident of that based on the tokenomics. Hey, let's see. DEX, IOTA, long. Let me pull it up. Did I not drop this in CC Pro? Jeez. Slipping. Let's have a look at IOTA. So I think when was that we dropped that post? So I think we called the bottom of this move by the looks of it. Yeah. So we dropped this in CC Pro here on the 1st. It was actually at 18 cents. So let's just draw on the trade. So it was around here. So let's just get rid of the stop loss. So yeah, up quite nicely. If somebody took action on that, you're up almost 16% since then. It's still in this accumulation zone, you would say. You probably wanted to take out this level here around 26 cents. From there, you're going to fill this wick. But really, there's not a lot of upside resistance levels. You've got maybe here, 35. And then up here around the 42 cent level. Other than that, you could be back at the December high, 63 cents pretty quickly. 3x from here, which would be nice. And I think this is what everybody should be really excited about, is there's massive moves waiting in the market just to get back to the December highs. So you don't even need to get to like crazy highs. But if you were buying, you know, IOTA down here in the 15 cent range and again in here, then just to get back to December, you know, you've got, what's that, 4 or 5x move. So yeah, some really nice moves. Yeah, 37 cents looks like a pretty good level. Top from December 2023, top from August 2022. Let's see if it goes. Yeah, top from February 2020. Top from April 19. So yeah, I would say 37 cents, a pretty big level to break on IOTA. To long it now, it's not terrible to be fair. Check back to the daily 200 moving average, tested it as support. There's a couple that look like that right now as well. So IOTA probably wouldn't be a bad shout from here. Decent upside. If you got back to the 37 cent level, 81% move, 10x leverage, 810%. It's not bad. And you could easily, you could set your stop loss quite wide as well. Let me try and get the stop loss back. You could put your stop loss down here somewhere. I don't know, like 16 cents, something like that, below these wick highs. Give it some room to breathe, just in case. That's what I do. Apecoin, where's Ape? Yeah, it's the exact same. 200-day moving average broke. So the thing I like to do when I'm trading as well is it's not necessarily looking about just where it is, but like how easy is it to check if it's invalidated. So if Apecoin breaks a 200-day moving average and closes below it on a daily, then you could easily just exit that position. You can also see that there's pretty obvious levels here, so you could set a stop loss below these wick lows from June, so down 53 cents. It's quite wide, but realistically you're going to let this trade probably run for what, 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe even, and try and get back to 217. So yeah. CN, I like what Swissborg Ethos says, but have found on green days when I try to take profits, my sales won't go through. I don't think that's a Swissborg issue, to be fair, but I think everybody just needs to be careful with selling. So if you're selling, you need to sell in chunks. Like you need to sell $1,000 at a time to reduce slippage. Swissborg will protect you. So the reason Swissborg will fail sometimes is they're actually actively trying to protect you from losing loads of money in slippage. So if you, for example, if you try and sell, I think we spoke about this to death, to be fair, but it's the same when you try and buy. But if you tried to sell 10 grand of LimeWire right now, your average price would be like 2 cents, because it has to dump and dump and dump to sell you that big a chunk of tokens. So yeah, you need to be careful with slippage. Kieran's asking for a drift update. I have chased them. I will drop it in CC Pro. And yeah, DEX going low leverage, which is a bit of a good tactic at this time in the market. I saw somebody, sorry to bash them, but I saw somebody saying about shorts. This isn't a short market, this is a dip buying market. I think that's pretty clear now. So one strategy is to go low leverage longs, like 2-3x, maybe even 5x max, instead of trying to buy spot or maybe capital's limited, so you just need to watch if you're adding multiple positions where your liquidation price is going to be. Just don't get caught out, because the market will have these 20-30% corrections from time to time, especially in some of the smaller altcoins. We saw it the other day, like Filecoin with the drop 25% in what, 7 days. So yeah, you just need to be careful for things like that. Bitcoin looking pretty healthy, to be fair. It'll be highest daily candle close in 12 days. Looks like we've recovered from the noise that dragged it down. We might get a bit of a pullback to this level in the next few days, 115k, something like that. But I think I'm expecting a new all-time high for Bitcoin in the coming like 7 days. I think the market's hot. I think Ethereum's looking great. It wouldn't be a surprise if we see Ethereum go back to fill this gap. So we spoke about CME gaps for Bitcoin. Ethereum has them as well. So obviously right now Ethereum's price is 34197. So if the futures market was to open right now, it would create a gap here. So yeah, it wouldn't be a terrible thing if Ethereum price dropped back now and just filled the gap before markets reopen tomorrow. Otherwise, we're probably going to have that gap that just kind of lingers. But we'll see. Futures open in the next hour, and that'll give us an indication of where stocks and crypto go this week. Stock market looking very strong. Nasdaq, highest daily candle close in history on Friday. Russell starting to look a bit better. Just need to get out of this tight range, and that'll be good for crypto. And then gold with a fake out, back inside this pennant formation, break above this, and I think we head to $4,500, which would be a monster move, but no real surprise given everything that's going on in the world with money and fiat currency. Silver, $38, and looking really strong as well. Yeah, low leverage longs are like a really good way of taking advantage of an uptrend, because you can't buy every coin, and if you've got, say, $500, $1,000 sitting about, $1,000 in something that's going 3x is fine. $3,000, it's not bad, but if you can multiply that with like 3x, turn it into 9-10 grand, do that a couple of times, that is a great strategy of just creaming some profits from the uptrend. I think Dogecoin looks pretty strong. I think we'll see some big move for it in the next couple of weeks. The weekly candle breaking back above this orange line, which was the March 2024 high. If we close above that tonight, then that is pretty bullish. Nice to take out this local high and then back up to this 48-cent level. That would be a nice move. I think it's coming. Feels pretty strong. Polkadot. Normally get asked about Polkadot every stream. So Polkadot, after 2 weeks, red. Nice recovery this week in line with the market, but we're still below the 200-day moving average. Need to reclaim that and then start building from there. Does look like we're just building steadily, and it all comes back to Bitcoin dominance, total 3, and the others chart. Once they start really getting moving, we will see massive moves for these altcoins. Bitcoin dominance at the high of the day, is it? No, just down. So hopefully this is a rejection, and that would be quite a healthy rejection as well, and put in a lower low in the coming days, and we are off to the races. Some huge weekly candle closes coming in the next 2 hours. We will have all the market analysis as usual in CC Pro tomorrow. If you're not in CC Pro, the link is in the chat, it's in the description below. It's our private members community where we have all the updates, pretty much everything you need to know, and as Dex says, some low leverage longs coming this week as well. But that's all for tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll be back this week with some huge market moves. I have every confidence that we're going to see some all-time highs across the market. Total market cap is trying its best to put in a new all-time high, just below it right now. I think we will get there very soon. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you all very soon.